Have you noticed there's always some sort of a design on the back of jean pockets? There's also all that little metal hardware everywhere. Why does that exist? Also, why are jeans always blue? Let me tell you. As I make more of my own clothes, the more I've come to realize that the way we construct garments is almost entirely because that's how it used to be. And there's no better example than jeans. They started out as work pants. These days, mostly style, I would say, and yet we construct them exactly the same. I made myself this pair right here. And so let's hit the rewind button, and as I go about constructing them, I'll explain the history of denim jeans. Fabric is just a composition of a whole bunch of threads. We can break fabrics down to two main types. There's knits, where we sort of loop the threads together, and then there's weaves, where they're woven together. Denim is a weave. We have the ones that go up and down. We call those the warp threads. This is also very often the grain of the fabric. And then we have the ones that go side to side, and those ones we call the weft threads. What's unique about denim is that the weft threads go underneath two or more of the warp threads, depending on what the manufacturer wants to do. So in my case, I'm going to go over one, under two, over one, under two again, and back over one again. We stagger that pattern, which is how we get those diagonal lines that we see in denim. Only the warp threads of denim are dyed. It's what gives it that grainy texture. And because the weft threads are more so on the inside, it's why the inside is always lighter. But honestly, the main reason for doing this is to save money, because it means only 50% of the threads have to be dyed. Work pants, after all, no need to waste money on a solid dye. Denim was also typically made out of 100% cotton, although these days you'll get a little bit of stretch in there, maybe lycra, some spandex, and even the cheaper ones will have some polyester. It is what it is. Fast fashion. As to the prominence of blue denim, there's competing theories, but the one that makes most sense to me is that bright, vibrant dyes used to be very expensive, and so they were reserved for royalty. But then along comes this thing known as indigo. It's bright blue. It comes from the leaves of the indigo plant. It's half the cost, and it needs half as much dye as what was used at the time, known as a woad dye. And the woad dye wasn't even that bright. So suddenly, it becomes available to a lot more people, and well, don't we all want to be royalty? Hence, blue denim. I'm putting zippers on my jeans, but of course zippers didn't exist back when jeans were first invented. So the old ones have buttons on them instead. There we go. Bit of a tangent here, but I need to tell you the story of the zipper. Before they existed, we had buttons, and then there was the hook and eye, and you had to manually put it together. And so this guy thought to himself, what if there was a channel, central device that could pull together a whole series of hook and eyes in one go? But the initial versions were rather cumbersome and not very reliable and didn't hold together well. Also, he didn't put too much effort into it because he was too busy trying to promote his new machine he'd come up with, known as, the sewing machine. Guy number 2 gave it a shot, couldn't solve the problem, but had a factory making other fastening devices. And guy number 3 was the one who eventually figured it out, and well, the only reason he worked on it was because he was married to the daughter of guy number 2 who owned the factory. She passed away. He was sad. He threw himself into his work. And the true genius that he came up with was realizing ditch the whole hook and eye thing, reduce it down to just tiny little teeth, clip together enough of them, and well, you get a strong device and it becomes very simple to use. Love and Death brought us a zipper. Weird world. And we haven't had them for that long. It was World War I that they were first used, but then only came into the clothing we wear in the 30s when they were put into kids' clothing to make it easy to put on and off. And then eventually, us grown-ups realized, yeah, let's use them too. As for that little pocket inside the front pockets, that was designed to hold a pocket watch. It's more commonly referred to as a coin pocket these days, but that too is becoming quickly obsolete. This little pocket tends to be on the right-hand side, but as a lefty, I'm switching it up and I'm putting it on my side. Boom, pockets sorted out. Moving on to the back and that upside down triangle on the top there, it's known as a yoke. Pants used to be much more high-waisted, and so what that panel does is help make the adjustment from the upper butt area here onto the lower back. By curving it like this, it pulls things in on the side for the curve of the butt, but then also makes for a shorter line at the top, which helps pull in the top length for the waist. We can see that concave of the panel pulling itself in now that it's stitched together here. I won't be sewing any patterns on my back pocket. It serves absolutely no function and is entirely an exercise in branding. Most famous for this is Levi's, who have the two arches that point down. The formal name for that design is called an arcuate. Most people really don't even pay attention to it, I imagine, but jeans companies take it very seriously. Levi's has been extremely consistent with theirs. During World War II, rationing was a big part of the American life, and so to not waste thread on that design, Levi's switched to just painting it on. In fact, Mr. Levi protects it fiercely, often taking companies to court if the designs are even similar. I did a full write-up about this on my Patreon page, and it's free. Head on over there, check it out. If this is of interest, I share all kinds of extra content there on a regular basis. Just sign up. All right, so that's the front panel, which I can now sew onto the back. Now I've personally opted to do a navy blue top stitching, and that's because I want it to blend in. But typically, when you see jeans, it's a yellow or gold color. Now, thread used to be made out of linen, which has a naturally beige color, and well, that can easily pick up a yellow without much fuss, hence the yellow color that we normally see with top stitching on jeans. As for a little thread history though, that linen stuff was eventually replaced with cotton threads, but today cotton threads are rarely used. It's almost all polyester. There's some fun trivia for you, thread trivia. Take that one to the pub with you, you know. As for the double top stitching that you see in various areas of jeans, that's mainly for the strength of it. 2 stitches are stronger than 1. Now if you look closely, you'll see I don't have that red and white on the side seam the way that you sometimes see in Selvedge denim. Selvedge stands for self-edge, and a self-edge is when the weft thread goes all the way along, loops back, goes in the opposite direction, loops back, and continues along and along and along. Therefore, containing the edge and being a self-edge. As for the red and white that you see, that's really just to show off the fact that it is a self-edge fabric. It also tends to come on a narrower bolt of fabric, 30 inches roughly, as opposed to the 55 to 60 with the single weft threads, like the stuff that I bought. So Selvedge denim is a lot like Instagram. If you don't show it, did it even happen? You know? The button consists of two parts. First, this little nail with a tip on the end. I've poked a little hole and popped that in from behind the waistband. Then there's the button. And these are on jeans simply because they're much stronger than thread and a button, which would just pop off back in the day when they were used for work. So jeans are clearly working pants, and so the stress of moving around in them all day is going to put pressure on stitches like in the corner of the pockets, and that will inevitably tear, which is why rivets were added to jeans to help reinforce and prevent the tearing of those stitches. There we go. That is the story of jeans. And I feel like there's a little bit of a life lesson here, which is just because things used to be a certain way doesn't mean they have to be that way now. Much like the jeans, figure out why it was done that way. See if it still applies, if it makes sense, and if not, make a change. Update things. Or keep it if it makes sense. Whatever. Here's some shots of the jeans I made. I'm proud of them. Take a look.